Good afternoon, everybody. It is once again I, your friendly neighborhood skook with a uke, back with a second video for the day. That's right. In my previous video, I said I was going to try and read a politically correct holiday story, so we're going to be doing that. If you missed the previous video, Rusu lets candy cane cocoa out of a Doc Graybow, and I'm going to be using my fantastic Zippo lighter with the pipe insert. So, without further ado, politically correct holiday stories by James Finn Garner. And we're going to read 'Twas the Night Before Solstice, after 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. 'Twas the night before solstice, and all through the co-op, not a creature was messing the calm status quo up. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, dreaming of lentils and warm whole grain breads. We'd welcomed the winter that day after school by dancing and drumming and burning the Yule. A more meaningful gesture to honor the planet than buying more trinkets for Mom and Aunt Janet. Or choosing a tree just to murder and stump it and dress it all up like a seasonal trumpet. My lifetime mate and I have turned down for the heat, slipped under the covers for a well-deserved sleep. When from out on the lawn there came such a roar that I fell from my futon and rolled to the floor. I crawled to the window and pulled back the latch and muttered, "Ah, where is the neighborhood watch?" I saw there below, through the murk of the night, a sleigh and 8 reindeer of non-standard height. At the reins of that sleigh sat a mean-hearted knave who treated each deer like a personal slave. I'd seen him before in some ads for car loans, plus fast food and soft drink and cellular phones. He must have cashed in from his mercantile chores, since self-satisfaction just oozed from his pores. He called each by name as if he were right to treat them like humans, entrenching his might. Now Donder, now Blitzen, and such aliases, each true Eurocentric biases. With a snap of his fingers, away they all flew, like lumberjacks served up a plate of tofu. Up to the rooftop they carried the sleigh, the holes in the shingles are there to this day. One bounded the man who went straight to the flue. I knew in an instant just what I should do. After donning my slippers downstairs did I dash to see the trespasser emerge from the ash. His clothes were all covered with soot, but of course from our wood-fueled alternative energy source. Through the grime I distinguished the makeup of duds. He was dressed all in fur, fairly dripping with blood. "We're cruelty-free house," I proclaimed with such heat, he was startled and tripped on the logs at his feet. He stood back up dazed, but with mirth in his eyes. It was then that I noticed his unhealthy size. He was almost as wide as when standing erect, a lover of fatty fried foods, I suspect. But that wasn't all to make some persons choke. In his teeth sat a pipe that was belching out smoke. I could scarcely believe what invaded our house. This carcinogenic overweight louse was so red in the face from the energy spent, I expected a heart attack right there and then. Behind him he toted a red velvet bag full to exploding with sinister swag. And he said, "Where is your tree?" with a face somewhat long. I said, "Out in the yard, which is where it belongs." "But where will I put all the presents I've brought?" I looked at him squarely and said, "Take the lot to some frivolous people who think that they need to succumb to the sickness of commerce and greed, whose only joy comes from the act of consuming, thus sending the stock of the retailers booming." He blinked and said, "Ho, ho, ho, but you're kidding." I gave him a stare and then stern and forbidding. Surely children need something with which to have fun. It's like childhood's over before it's begun. He looked in my eyes for some sign of assent, but I strengthened my will and refused to relent. "They have plenty of fun," I cut to the gist, "and your mindless distractions have never been missed. They take CPR so that they can save lives and go door to door for the used clothing drives. They recycle, renew, reuse, and reveal, for saving the planet is laudable zeal. When they padlock themselves to a fence to protest against nuclear power, we think they're the best." He said, "But they're children, though when do they play?" I countered, "Is that why you've driven your sleigh? To bring joy to the hearts of each child and tot? All right, open your bag, let's see what you've got." He sheepishly did, and I asked, and behold, a Malibu Barbie in skirt made of gold. You think that my girls will like playing with this, an icon of sexist consumerist kitsch? With its unnatural figure and airheaded grin, this trollop makes every girl yearn to be thin, and take fake diets and binging and purging, instead of respecting her body's urging, to welcome the shape that her body was found, and rejoice to be lanky, short, skinny, or round. Deep in his satchel he searched for a toy, saying, "This is a hit with most little boys." And what did he put in my trembling hand but a gun from the Brain Blaster's power command? "It's a hit to be sure," I sneered in his face, "and a plague to infect the whole human race. How about grenades or some working bazookas to turn all our kids into half-wit palookas?" I seized on his bag just to see for myself the filth being spread by this odious elf. An easy bake oven, ah, goddess, what perfidy, to hoodwink young girls into household captivity. Plus an archery playset with shafts that fly out, the very thing needed to put your eye out. A toy metal tractor, steam shovel and crane, for tearing down woodlands and scaring the plains. Plus games like Monopoly, Payday Tycoon, as if lessons in greed can't start up too soon. And even more weapons from Brain Blaster Co., like cannons and nunchucks and ray guns that glow. That's all I could find in his red velvet sack. Perverseness and mayhem to set us all back. But I did find one book that caused me to ponder some fine bedtime tales by a fellow named Garner. "We need none of this," I announced in a huff, "no business-as-usual holiday stuff. We sow in our offspring more virtue than this. Your toys offer some things they never will miss." The big man's expression was a trifle beraved, and he shouldered his pack and got ready to leave. I pity the kids who grow up around here, who are never permitted to be of good cheer, who aren't allowed leisure for leisure's own sake, but must fret every minute. It makes my heart break. Enough histrionics, don't pity our kids if they don't do as Macy's or Toys R Us bids. They live by their principles first and foremost, and know what's important to do. To him did I boast. Pray could I meet them? Oh no, they're not here. They're up on the roof liberating your deer. Then Santa Claus sputtered and pointed his finger, but mad as he was, he had no time to linger. He flew up to the chimney like smoke from a fire, and up on the roof I could hear voices get higher. I ran outside the co-op to see him react to my children's responsible, kind-hearted act. He chased them away, and disheartened, dismayed, he rehitched his reindeer, whose docility stayed. I watched with delight as he scooted off then. He had been too embarrassed to come back again. But with parting disdain, do you know what he said when his overweight huckster took off in his sled? This reindeer enslaver, this exploiter of elves. Happy Christmas to all, but get over yourselves. So that was Politically Correct Holiday Stories the Night Before Christmas, actually titled something. Twas the Night Before Solstice. This was inspired by Kaylee the Queen of Cobs reading a politically correct bedtime story about a year ago for something. I thought it was so funny, so when I found this book, I thought, oh man, we gotta read this, because this is hilarious. So, hopefully y'all took it lighthearted. I mean, I was definitely one of those kids that had a Nerf gun and, played with crazy stuff that people lose their minds over now. So hopefully you enjoyed it as much as I did, and hopefully you are out enjoying some beautiful holiday blends in a wonderful pipe, and as always, God bless.